Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the show where we sit down and dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on the show is quite simple. It is to shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And for today's episode, we are recording this interview live at the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association Convention in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, with Humboldt Councillor Sarah McInnis. Across Canada, our cities, towns, villages, and rural communities are alive with stories waiting to be told. Stories of innovation and economic development, resilience in the face of the housing challenges, and the financial hurdles municipalities overcome every day. At the Cross Border Network, we bring these stories to life. From coast to coast to coast, we're connecting Canadians to the issues shaping our communities and showcasing the people working tirelessly to make them thrive. With your support, we can expand our reach, amplify more voices, and shine a light on the challenges and triumphs of municipal life. For as little as $3.99 a month, you can help us grow and continue sharing the stories that matter most. Join us today and be part of this important mission. Together, we can tell more stories, build stronger communities, and make a real difference. Support the Cross Border Network now. Visit www.crossborderinterviews.ca today.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, I gotta get to know the person behind the persona a little bit. Where did your sense of duty to serve your community come from?
Yeah, I think this really comes from my parents. My mom, she was a single mom. We grew up on the west side of Saskatoon.
Where? Just actually in the city of Saskatoon?
In the city of Saskatoon,
Okay.
yeah, McCormick Road. We lived in community housing there, and my mom, despite being a single mom with my sister and I, she was always active in the community. She was a full-time university student, full-time worker, and still found time to volunteer. So I think for me, that really kind of instilled that sense of we have to give back. I guess I just personally feel that in order to have that safety net for our community, we have to put into it. We can't have a village if we're not willing to step up and be a part of that village.
But stepping up can happen in many different ways. Volunteerism, nonprofit, but you chose politics. Who has the political bug in your family, or are you the black sheep?
No, it's just me.
Oh.
Yeah. My family is they're political in the sense that, of course, they vote and they take pride in their province and their country, but really not political otherwise. We didn't really discuss politics. I don't know what happened to me, but I took an interest. And as an aside, I do quite a bit of volunteering as well. So politics and volunteering, it balances it out a little bit.
So this is your first term on council? So this is like within the first 100 days of us chatting, right?
Yes, exactly.
So what made you ultimately decide to put your name on the ballot in 2024? Was there an issue going on? Was it the little one that's off the camera right now, but I can see that?
Yeah, so for me, I really love the city of Humboldt. It's a wonderful place to live, but I really wanted to ensure that I was doing my part so that our city continues to become better for my two young children. I just want to see our city be the absolute best place possible for the generations to come.
Okay, so you've been elected. Now, I would suspect that you've come to the realization, if you haven't already, I'm about to burst a very big bubble, that you know that every decision you make is not going to be universally loved.
Yes.
How do you make those tough decisions? How do you make those decisions around the council table to make sure you're doing right for the community?
Yeah, that is tough. So myself personally, I'm quite passionate about kind of a grassroots political movement. So to be honest, I knock on a lot of doors. I make sure that I'm out in the community and really gauge how the community is feeling about issues. And then, of course, I like to do some background research, a jurisdictional scan perhaps, see what's going on in similar communities. And then, we kind of discuss it around the council table, and oftentimes our opinions are differing, but it it makes for good conversation, and it's important to hear others' perspectives and feedback. But there have been tough decisions, that I've had to make.
Because we often find ourselves in echo chambers on social media. The people who we agree with, we're friends with. The people that we support, we're friends with. But how important is it for yourself to listen to the other side of the story, the ones who are dissenting against the challenges that the city faces, and say, you're doing it wrong? Is it as important for you to listen to both sides, the positive and the negatives?
Yes, absolutely. And I think you're entirely right. Oftentimes I feel myself, I'm in an echo chamber of, hey, you're doing a great job. But of course,
you are doing a great job.
Of course. But
I follow you on LinkedIn. You're doing a wonderful job, okay?
Well, thank you. But I mean, of course, there are people out there who feel that perhaps they're not being well served by the city or city council or any level of government. So I think it's incredibly important that we hear their perspective and perhaps learn from it and, try something new, try something different, and really try to make sure that everyone feels that they have a voice.
How much does communication come into play when you're in a small city like Humboldt? And I say small in the relatively size, like of Toronto, of Saskatoon, of a Regina.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. In Humboldt, we actually don't have a local newspaper either. Yeah,
I thought you did.
We used to.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a local newspaper, which makes communication incredibly important. We actually find when I'm knocking on doors, a lot of seniors say, hey, I don't use Facebook. I'm not really big on the internet. So how do I know about what's going on? And that's something we're really grappling with right now.
Do you think you're doing a good job? Could it be better?
I think I'm doing my best. I strap my baby. I have a 1-year-old baby. I strap her to my back in the carrier and I hit the streets. I knock on doors. You see me walking around downtown every single day. We're either picking up garbage or we're stopping in at businesses or just trying to stop people on the street. I think half the time people are like, I have no idea who this is and why she wants to talk to me, but I do it anyway.
When you do have those conversations, you talk about the jurisdictional purview, and that is something that I hammer home on the show a lot because I believe there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what role each level of government plays in our society from a Canadian's perspective. For those who are about to send an email, send it to me. Do not send it to the councillor. People don't understand what the federal role is, the municipal role, or the provincial role, or even the school board role is. Yeah. But I guarantee you, and you'll come to this realization as you get further into your time in office, people are going to start coming to you about provincial issues because they know you more than their MLA or their MP. How are you planning, or if you have already, how do you tell people it's not your issue without telling them it's not your issue because they've elected you to fix that issue?
Yeah, that is tough. And to be honest, that's already started to happen.
Really?
Yeah. And I think, as a bit of a background to this first, I think that we're seeing a bit of murkiness because municipalities are becoming responsible for things that are maybe provincial or federal mandates. I mean, look at housing and municipalities, we now have a massive hand in housing when it's realistically not our mandate, but of course we need to be there to step up and provide for our residents. So I have a lot of people come to me with requests, federal, provincial jurisdiction, and I let them know, hey, this is not in my realm of decision making, but I will absolutely advocate, to our MLA, to our MP, to government, and I do. And I think having a good relationship with my counterparts, whoever that may be, has been really, really important for that. And I'm sure they're sick of hearing from me because I am a tireless advocate.
But your advocacy work, and this is what the reason I found out about you is because you put your hand up not just to serve as the City of Humboldt councillor, but also to serve on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And your comment about housing, I can imagine people are going, thank you. She actually talked about housing. Greatly appreciate it. What made you decide to put your name to put your hand up and say, I want to serve not just here locally, but on a federal level as well?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. The first one was that sometimes in Saskatchewan, we feel a little bit underrepresented in terms of advocating at the federal level and federal decisions. We always hear things end at the Manitoba border, and Saskatchewan is kind of second thought.
Talk to Manitoba and they'll say it ends at the Ontario border.
Exactly, I'm sure. Exactly. So I really wanted to be able to kind of bring more of a strong voice for Saskatchewan. Of course, we have wonderful FCM advocates already from Saskatchewan who are doing a great job. I just wanted to be there to support and be a part of it. And then the other reason is that FCM really does advocate for a lot of issues that I'm seeing in my own municipality and across the province. So again, I just wanted to kind of lend a hand to that advocacy work.
So, thank you for answering that. I want to turn to the city of Humboldt as a whole now. Before I do this, as for those who have listened to this spiel for a few minutes, just fast forward about 30 seconds. This is a conversation between the councillor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. This is the councillor's opinion and her opinion alone. She needs a majority of people on the council to pass any motion, direction, or policy at council to make anything move forward. So this is her opinion and her opinion alone. It may line up with what she's talking about, but again, her opinion. That being said, if you have any issues about what she's about to say, send them to me, because I've given my spiel, and you should not understand by now that these are opinions and not directions of council. Councillor, in your opinion, as of recording this in the middle of April 2025, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the city of Humboldt today?
I think for us right now, it's the cost of development and housing. We need to see a lot more doors go up in Humboldt relatively quickly. We're part of that Iron Triangle manufacturing region, and then we also have the BHP mine.
Yep.
So we need a lot more doors very quickly. But as we know, municipalities across Canada are responsible for 60% of core Canadian infrastructure, but we're receiving 9 cents on the dollar in funding. And, to put up one home in a municipality, the cost, so not for the home, just for all of the other resources required, is around $106,000. So bore by the municipality. But of course, we're not getting that amount of funding. So I think in Humboldt right now, that is our biggest kind of hurdle that we're trying to overcome is, okay, how can we get more doors in our city? And we have a lot of interest. People want to develop in Humboldt. But how can we afford it without placing too much of a burden on our existing taxpayers?
So the $1 million question that has to follow up is, how do you do that? Because developers won't come unless there's infrastructure. Infrastructure can't be put in place without burdening the people of the community already. Where's the fine line that Humboldt has to walk to ensure that this gets done, but not on the back of people who are, and I'm saying this respectfully, struggling, and not just Humboldt, but everywhere?
Everywhere, yeah. And I think the answer is multifaceted, and I perhaps don't have the comprehensive answer. One tool...
What's the Humboldt answer, though?
Well, the Humboldt answer so far is development levies.
Yep.
Humboldt's were really greatly out of date, so we are bringing those up to more applicable levels. There's leeway for this coming year so that developers know, hey, it's going to go up soon, so if you want to develop this year...
do it this year,
do it
2025.
This year. Exactly. So that's one way, and then of course, hoping for grants from the federal and provincial government. And we have been very fortunate to get quite a few of those. So we're always appreciative. And then that advocacy piece to our federal and provincial counterparts that, hey, this is not sustainable. There's more responsibilities on municipalities, but we don't have the kind of money that the province or federal government does.
Do you think that Humboldt in 2030, 2040, 2050 will be bigger than it is right now because of the plans that you're putting in place today? Because the old saying goes, and I'm going to butcher it because I always do, but the great men don't plant trees to sit in the shade today, but they plant trees to sit in shade for like 20 years from now, wherever that comment is. It was off of a show. I saw it on LinkedIn, so sorry. Do you feel like the plan that Humboldt is setting out today is going to better your community for 20 years from now?
100%. And I have to say, our city manager would have loved that quote. He's always telling us, we do planning for the future, not for today. So he really helps us to reframe our mindset when we're thinking about planning. But absolutely, we have some exciting things in motion, and Humboldt 20, 30 years from now will be even better than it already is.
What's the thing that is good about Humboldt? We always talk about the challenges, but there are success stories. There are things that you can point to and say, this is what makes our community great. What is that for you?
I mean, how long is the show?
As long as you want to talk. I'm going to get coffee. You take your time. Go for it.
I think one thing about Humboldt is people in the community are passionate about one another. It's a really caring community. We have that community safety network. I think it's not necessarily unique to just Humboldt, but I'm newer to Humboldt, and upon moving, I was so surprised at how quickly I had neighbors come over and say, hey, do you want me to watch your baby? Or, hey, I'm going to snow blow your driveway. Or it's just really a community of care. And for a city, sometimes that can get lost, but it really hasn't been lost in Humboldt. People there are proud, they're hardworking, and they're caring.
Can I ask about the events that happened in Humboldt that put it on the national stage? Community is one thing, but what happened in Humboldt after that tragic bus accident shone a very bright light in your community on a national stage. Looking at the people who came together after that accident and still come together today, you must be proud of the people who are there and the way that even in the darkest hours, people can rally together.
Yeah, absolutely. The people of Humboldt and our community is incredibly resilient, and it's unfortunate that we've had to show that to the world in this way. But the resiliency in our community is unreal, and again, the care for one another following the tragic accident. Yeah, it's something that will shape the fabric of Humboldt for forever. And we're still trying to figure out, what's the best way to honor those involved and memorialize what happened. So we're still grappling with that as a city. But the community and the people have been incredibly resilient.
I want to turn to my favorite subject, and that is tourism. I think every community has a great tourism draw. I think every community has a thing that they should be able to hold up and say, come visit us because we have this. What is that X factor? What is that tourism spot that people need to come see if they ever find themselves driving through Humboldt? Which I found myself driving through Humboldt last year, and everything was closed because it was a Sunday and there was not much open at the time. But for you, what would that thing that people need to come and see Humboldt for?
Yeah, for me, it's original Humboldt. So this is a gem that isn't maybe as known locally, but is recognized nationally. So Humboldt was built kind of on the Carlton Trail. There's still wagon ruts in the ground from the 1800s. And there's a lot of work being done at original Humboldt in regards to reconciliation and some Indigenous recognition. And yeah, there's some really cool things happening at Original Humboldt. We have visitors from other countries, from across our country. So it's
How did I not know about this?
Exactly. It's one of those little gems that a lot of local people don't know about, but is recognized nationally and internationally. So Come to Original Humboldt.
I am coming, and we will take a tour of Original Humboldt.
Perfect.
So before I let you go, because I'm cautious of time, and this is a quicker episode than our traditional ones, but what makes Humboldt such a unique place to live, work, and raise a family? Because you live it, you work it, and you are now raising a family in it. What made Humboldt such an attractive place for you to raise, work, and live?
Yeah, so I was actually recently on CBC News on Cross Country Checkup, and they were asking about family doctors. So family doctor was actually the initial huge draw to Humboldt. So we're very unique in our healthcare challenges that we have a ton of family physicians, lots accepting new patients. So tick one for Humboldt there.
Tick one, very much so.
But Humboldt is essentially, in my opinion, the perfect community for families. It's incredibly safe. If you look at our crime statistics comparatively to other jurisdictions the same size, our crime rate is very, very low. We have great education and schools. People feel comfortable letting their kids walk across town to school, elementary school students. We're a city, we have all the amenities you need, but it still has that kind of small town feel where, you might not know everyone, but you know someone who knows someone.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much. I like I said, I'm not trying to blow smoke at all, but I saw you on LinkedIn. I followed your backstory, and I'm so happy that we got to connect because I feel like this is not going to be the last conversation you and I have as we move forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, if you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. We also want to take a moment and thank the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association for allowing us to come and attend this year's convention in Saskatoon, but also record these great interviews on the Cross Border Interviews. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to learn more about the communities and the people we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us. So share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Cross Border Interviews soon. Till then.